Dun 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 dun. So, we're getting there. We are getting there. It's Monday now. Skipped a few days. Oh, if you saw this beforehand, we got our car stuff, power tools and whatnots, paint stuff, saws. I probably should make a big old wood organizer thingy. Workbench. This just shows you how big these shelves are. Now I thought I was gonna have room to spare. Those things are monsters, but apparently not. Maybe if once Jaja moves back to the burnt house, because then that whole section will be gone. Couldn't hang those quite yet. All the lawn stuff. These things have been in a pile forever. It's so, and then you just gotta drag them out and you knock over 5 things. There's the shelves. It works. Got the blower and the chainsaw and everything else going on there. Feels so good. You don't even know. I got so much stuff. Let me set up here. There, the Bluetooth headphones were still on. I hope that audio worked. I have so much stuff because I'm a handyman. So it's not like I just lay carpet. I got this little section for my carpet tools. I gotta have a little bit of everything. And that's the niche. I can go in and do anything from flooring to painting to just yard work, even whatever. So it kind of sucks because you gotta have everything, but you can do anything too. But loading and unloading and keeping it organized. And this whole last year and a half, I've been without a garage. At one point I had 2 little sections. I had the rental house garage, which the owners didn't storage their stuff. They used the garage. So we moved in and I'm like, it was just a 1-car garage too. And I'm like, I don't have a garage. Like, and they were getting this big ass, State Farm check. I'm like, you guys can't. And just nobody did anything. Anyways, so I had that garage. The burnt down house garage had some of my stuff and a U-Haul storage unit. So I was skipping around. And then when we moved here, I'm not gonna blame it totally on the contractor because he got weaseled down by the person in charge of the money at the time, to like basically do the work for half. So, and there was still stuff left in the house from the old owners because the person in charge bought it as is for a reduced price. I've cleaned 20-yard dumpster after 20-yard dumpster out of this place. It's been just a trip, but now, oh, you don't even know. Got it all, and I can walk through here now. Oh my God, you don't even know. Anyways, I wanted to talk about, it kind of goes off of tithing. I don't know if you figured out, I'm a Christian. I don't even know if I call myself a Christian, maybe a follower of Jesus, because there is kind of a difference. And tithing is give. To me, tithing isn't just about the money. What I learned from my pastor, because I follow my pastor, you can call me a sheep, because goats love to be lost, sheeps love to be found. It's about giving God your first. And a practice I've implemented lately that I find very beneficial has been giving him the first part of my day. Now, I'm not like super devout. I don't drop to my knees like 10 times a day. You know what I mean? But like, I'll get up in the morning. I'll start my coffee, I'll get it brewing, and I'll come out for my smoke, my morning smoke out on the stoop. But before that smoke is lit, I just say hi and acknowledge and invite. I invite Jesus to come hang out with me for the day and change your life. I mean, and to me that's a tithe as well. Tithe means 10%. Now, I don't spend my whole morning praying for an hour or any of that, because once I'm done with that smoke, I'm in there getting the kids ready, da 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 da. But before the madness starts, to just invite them. And then for me, it just starts the day off right in a tone of not going off of my, you could call it your own will, but we tend to make horrible decisions. And now I'm biting this off of yesterday's church sermon a little bit. But you know, you'll go throughout your day making decisions thinking you know what the best answer is based off of logic and your experience. But God is smarter than us. So he'll have us doing nonsensical things, and you'll find out a year later that's why that happened. It did not make any sense at the time, went against every fiber in your being. But in my experience in my life, I'm just a smartass. I'll do whatever the hell I want, you know, and it gets me in trouble. Like, whether it's anxiety or just, oops, that didn't work, or just I felt like, well, where am I going with my life? Am I even on the right path? Am I in my path? Because society will steer you. And so just inviting them in. It takes an invitation, man. It's not just, I prayed to you, now you're with me. Like, you have to be like, come, just like your own house. You know, people aren't going to come over unless you invite them. It's just an invitation to be with you through the day. Something I forgot to tell you too. And this was more than usual this morning. Have you ever started the day with a confession? It's like, you know how you wake up feeling a little funky, especially if you had like a hot night or something, a little sweaty, little residue, a little dirty, a little foggy. Try it sometime. Before your day starts, just do your confession during a short prayer. And you start the day just feeling clean. Alright, the audio might be a little better in this car. Driving the wife's whip. And yeah, I just kind of detailed the loaner car, the POS, as a work van, but like that thing was just a moving allergy. And I'm kind of a Boy Scout in that respect, leaving places cleaner than I found them. Even when we eat at a restaurant, I'll wipe the table down a little bit, like stack all the plates nice and stuff. I don't know why, it's just a thing. And so both my projects fell through the cracks, so I got the day off, I guess, which is fine. Allows me to do nice stuff like get my uncle's car clean for him. He should be done with my van pretty soon. I don't know why people need to go 90 in the slow lane. Anyways, so I'm going to get a cord so I can transfer these videos from this phone to my computer. Because nowadays, when you get new phones, they have a different cord that doesn't have a USB on the end, and a charger, special chargers for each phone. Make you spend more money, I guess. So I wanted to talk about something I was reminded of. So the other night, watching a little movie on the old Netflix on my phone, and I started watching a horror movie, and I used to watch horror movies all the time. Don't dig them so much anymore. I don't like all those images flashing in my face and my brain through the gateway to my soul and my eyeballs. Just it's what you consume, man. You know what I'm saying? But for whatever reason, it was an Exorcist type flick. I think it was like the Pope's Exorcist or something like that. But sometimes I like to watch ones where Christianity's involved, because they often have little nuggets in there, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of big on knowing my enemy and basically how to fight it. I try to be a warrior of God. I try to wear the full armor as best as I possibly can. Because it's one thing to be cozy and stand by in your faith, and it's another to actually fight your environment just by trying to be love as much as possible. I gripe a lot, but I do stuff anyways. You ask me to do something and I'll gripe about it, but I'll just do it for you. But it's just me. Anyways, excuse me. So I'm watching this horror flick, and it's got some gory stuff in it. You know, I'm in kind of little bit of scare mode, and got a little fight or flight going in my bloodstream. And then my son, my 3-year-old, pulls a Chucky on me, just bursts in the door, and all I see this little head and hear these little footsteps go across my room. And he guns it around the bed to Mama, because he knows that I'll tell him to go back to bed. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Little dude scared the shit out of me. And it did remind me just of, like, I don't know if anybody's seen that old Chucky movie, but he'll dip across the hallway, and all he hears do. And usually my little guy he'll give you a heads up. He'll moan or you hear his door open or something. No, this little dude just snuck and just bursted in and ran, but didn't say anything. It's creepy. So, but this movie I'm watching, it reminded me of something I used to say all the time, and it's just something I try to, if I get into that type of conversation about good and evil or whatever, I try to kind of dispel a lot of it and get into the crux of the matter. With all these things going on, it's just coming at you like arrows left and right. All this info, all this drama, all these wars, all this global warming, all these little narratives, and then even just people in general trying to throw a monkey wrench in your day and blah blah blah. All of it boils down to something. Now, I think here's where people get a little off the path, is everybody knows, you know, like the devil's tools, you know, lies, deception, illusion, and everybody knows, you know, the outcome of those, division and violence of all sorts and all those bad things. And I think people misconstrue that all those really bad things, while I'm sure the devil gets off on it, that's not, I don't believe, his main goal of all of it. All of it boils down to distraction. It's just to distract you from God. Because all of it goes away when you're with God. Like, it doesn't go away, but it doesn't possess you.
while you're with God, while you're spending your day with God. Because half of it, even if it's really happening, and the news isn't lying to you and stuff, what do we have here? It's not happening to you or in your little world. It's not actually in your living room. They're talking about something happening over in Japan, you know, and telling you how it's going to affect you and all this stuff. People dying you don't know and all this other stuff. It just gets you going. Or how you're supposed to hate this person or what these people did, and that's why we're going to go to war and kill a bunch of innocent people nobody's met. All distraction from prayer, connection. Because that's all he needs. He just needs you disconnected and you're his. And I think that, how do I segue this? I want to segue this into trauma, especially like with mental health and stuff. Because I perceive mental health as a slight form of possession. Because when you become traumatized, and I don't care if you had a rough childhood or a really easy one, there's different levels to it. If you've had a silver spoon upbringing, just watching a movie can traumatize you. The news can traumatize you. But I don't... These distractions, these clinging to narratives, these negative things, and even especially a trauma, I believe just opens a doorway. It's a gate opener for the devil to get in, to put his foot in the door, to put a hole in your boat. There was a little meme I just read or saw lately. A boat will float on water. It's only when the water gets in the boat that it sinks, right? So your environment, you can walk through and sail through your day with a bunch of craziness going on, but it's not until you let it in that it starts messing with your head. Kind of hard not to let it in when it's being blasted at you from every single angle all day long, but so it's distraction. There's so many distractions. Let's take my, for those who saw the other videos, I did some back work, some specific stretches. And I told you, do it for a couple days straight. I didn't even do it for a couple days straight over the weekend. I got distracted. Now it's fine. I mean, I got to kind of do that funny walk that I showed you, and I'm not hurting anymore or anything. But it's so easy to get distracted, and especially from spiritual stuff. You just get in the world. And all these things, there's this excitement, even if it's good stuff, all the excitement, the football games, the movies, and the idol worship, and all that other stuff, it's all based in distraction, just to keep you from him. Because if too many people are focused on him, the devil has a hard time doing what he's doing now. And I guess now is as best a time as any to not get distracted, because I don't know if you looked around, and I know the cliche, oh, we're always in the end times, but it's pretty apparent right now that we are. And you better get right, whether it's even just to get through the rest of your life. I'm not going to say more comfortable, but just get through it. Being a Christian, following God, it does reduce a lot of anxiety because you can give it to him. So I guess in many ways it is more comfortable, but I don't think that's the point. It's to be, well, alive, because otherwise, when you're kind of piggybacking on what I was saying this morning, when you're going off your own will in the outline of society, you end up in an office just sitting there pressing buttons, moving around fictitious things, and no satisfaction or nothing. Not even thinking about, not to pat myself on the back, but not even thinking about doing something like cleaning a dirty car for someone that let you use it. I didn't have to do it. I don't really expect anything from it. But like, I know when he gets it, he's gonna be like, oh, well, dang. And it just feels good to give, because I know he's gonna hook me up on my ride too. He's gonna lose like $1,000 or $2,000 because I'm family, and he's the type of person that he won't let me do anything. You know, you're like, what can I do for you to help you? And I'm nothing. And even the other day when me and the wife stopped by to talk cars with him, I looked at his front yard and I'm like, oh my God. And I don't like doing yards. I have to do it for some property management here and there. But this dude was about to get violated by the city. And I know his brother usually does it, and his brother's up, my stepdad, his brother's up with the surgery and stuff, so he ain't doing it. And I'm like, if I find a minute, I'm gonna go do this quick. Well, it didn't end up being quick. It was actually a huge yard, and like everything was like a foot tall. But even when I went there, I was walking around his yard. I didn't even go in and say hi, and they heard me out there. Heard my stepdad say, "Oh, Jeff's here," and they're like, "Hey," and then he came. He's like, "Come on in," and I'm like, "Okay," and they're sitting there having their post-lunch rest before they get back to it, and I'm like, I'm just here to handle this yard because it's atrocious. He's like, I'll do it later. I'm like, no, you're not. And you got enough on your plate anyways. And he's like, yeah, I can do all that. I'm like, I got all the stuff in my car and the weed whipper and everything else. And I can do it. I'm like, too bad. So this girl's looking at me making the podcast or the vlog. But anyways, so I just went and did it or whatever, and it is what it is. I try to do as much as I can. I try not to burn myself out doing it. Especially this week, I had besides working on the house, I had a majorly down, week. So when I got time, just try to pay it forward. It comes around. Anyways, I gotta get this cord, man. So yeah, I got a couple more errands to run quick since I got the day off. Everybody likes to use you when you got the day off. I need you to do this, blah, blah. Then I got to start training. I mean, I had to go on a health kick anyways. I know how to do it. My old regimens won't work though, because the way I used to lose weight and get back in shape, I was single and no kids. Whole different time management. But I also gotta quit smoking. There's no reducing smoking. And reduce sugar, which is also kind of an abstinence thing, really. I think I'm hitting 250. All beast. But it's getting a little too much for me even. My baseline's about 210. It's about 210. I mean, I could go lower, but there's without bounce back. Like when actors get in shape quick for like a part, and then when they're done with the part, they gotta bounce back. It's supposed to be probably about 210, 215. But gotta do it. But I'm doing it for, and this helps. I have a goal. It's only a month away though. I got a men's conference with my church, and what we do is we go way up north to this it's like a campsite, kind of camp resort because they do have like a food hall, a chapel or stage area, and like kind of dorms. It's pretty nice and pretty new actually. This year I'm camping though. I haven't camped in so long. Like since I met my wife, I keep on trying to get her to go. she needs to glamp. And we tried it once, picked the wrong weekend, and the mosquitoes were horrendous. It was horrible. We had to leave. Anyways, I gotta train for that because it's like 300 dudes, 300 men go up north, and like last year, the first night to kick it off, we do a little prayer, and we go eat, and then I think that first night we went out and did a massive tug-of-war competition. in the rain, in the dark, headlights shining the way, everybody screaming and yelling and getting all primal and stuff. It gets very competitive. I'm not really a competitive guy. I didn't like, competitive sports too much. I did a lot of judo and stuff like that, and I tinkered around with soccer and track, but I'm not super competitive, but it's fun. But it's brutal. I mean, people do go to the hospital and stuff, and it's all ages, like 13 to 60 if you want. And there's a bunch of those guys out there too, trying their best. And you just go out there, get dirty, lots of brotherhood. It's glorious. But I had to go last year. I had to go up against some young bucks that are in college football, and they have a few football events, and I got knocked on my ass left and right. And not that I'm not gonna this year, but I can't be this out of. I'm a little more out of shape than I was last year, and I can't be this out of shape. When I go there, man, I'll get hurt. I'm basically trying to prevent injury, and kill two birds with one stone, and just get back in shape in general, just for the kids. You know what I mean? Just for longevity and just all around basic health. I mean, I'm super active. I sweat all the time. My heart gets pumping, but it's work. It's work muscles. I have work muscles. It's different when you're doing exercise, moving your body different ways, and stretching and all that stuff. It feels way different. So, I can trick myself and be like, well, I burn a lot of calories through the day if you see how active I am. And then, so I can eat all these cookies at night, but it doesn't work that way. And for me, I got to do a lot of cardio. I'm not going to really build much more muscle. I'm already pretty buff underneath this layer. But cardio is what burns the pounds. And I hate running. I got flat feet, never liked it. I was always built like, a brick shit house. Like when the plow horse got sick, you just hook me up and I'll go. But for running, I do like 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, and then I'll increase it as I get a little bit better. But I don't go. Once in a while, I'll pull off a mile straight of jogging or whatever. But that's about it. But that's enough if I do it routinely. It sheds off. But I got to get started on that today. Woo! Kind of procrastinating. Thank God I got all these errands to run. So since I'm on all the Jesus stuff, bam, we'll get into it. I was not always a follower of Jesus, as most aren't. My dad was really into Eastern type stuff, which I still get a lot out of. I guess medicinally a little bit till this day. I got really into paganism, Wiccan stuff. My mother was an atheist for the most part. She thought she was a Native American in a former life. So I did not have the upbringing. Did a lot of spiritual experimentation though. And what I came to find after years of experience and frustration, I guess would be summed up as, because I know people have a problem with there's only one way, right? And that's, and no, there's many ways. The only problem that I had was going down the Eastern path, or the many lesser gods path, or the even elemental or natural spirits, or whatever you want to call them, path. There was a couple of things. For one, you're dealing in spiritual commerce. After I get off this bumpy road, I'm going to say that again. Spiritual commerce. You're entering into spiritual contracts when you're dealing with anything but God. Just like a phone contract or any other contract. You're asking favors from entities you ain't got no business dealing with. And everyone but capital G God requires a debt when you do that. When you ask for things, when you want to get your strength from a rose quartz or something like that, you're not only making contracts you have got no business doing, it requires debt in some way, shape, or form. You're asking favors, and you don't even know what you're dealing. You can be, and here's the other thing, and it all works. At some level, all that magic works. And even if you're super careful with it, your intentions are really good. Two main things. 3 main things. One, like I talked about with trauma, is now you're inviting entities you don't know into your life. You're not like trauma, just getting the door opened and a foot in the door. You're inviting things into your life, right? And you don't know if they're good or bad or their intentions, but they all require a debt. That's just how the physics of it works. Secondly, and inevitably, the longer you do it, the more you're running off of your own will. And we all know our will gets construed. Eventually you're going to be like, it's not asking for what God's will is. It's not asking. You can say this is with good intentions before your little spell all you want. But repeatedly over the years, eventually it's going to sway towards our nature. I don't care how good your intentions are. It's just what happens. You know what I mean? And that was the third one is you're running off your own will. What you think is right. What you think is going to solve the problem. And there's a million things orchestrated to get whatever you want done. And you don't even know if what you want done is the right thing to get done. You don't know if you're supposed to go be a doctor or if you're supposed to go pick up garbage. Shoot, they're very related. Do you know how sick people would be without sanitation? Anyways. So, I went through years of running on my self-will. It's very exhausting. And even when you get what you want, something else pops up. It's the debt. That's why I say Jesus erases all debts. So a lot of spiritual commerce. Be careful what you wish for. There's archetypes everywhere about it. The whole genie thing. Yeah, I mean, you're warned about it all the time. And not only that, the devil don't mind. As long as you're not talking to Jesus, he's like, fine. And he'll give you stuff too. You'll get rewarded greatly. Right? But in the end, it catches up with you. And that's something, it's really tough, because when I was growing up, like, I don't know if this is by design in both good and bad ways, but we used to go to Grandma's church in Wisconsin. In Menominee, Wisconsin, a little old Lutheran church. The most boring thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I don't know if that's on purpose or to bore you. Come on, dude, figure it out. Sorry, a little road rage there. I don't know if that's on purpose to bore people, or is it supposed to be hypnotic and kind of get you mellowed out and not thinking about the world, which, if you got a mind like mine, you're gonna just start thinking about worldly things because there ain't nothing else to do there. Anyways, and that took me a long time, and I drove down the Buddhist path. I did a lot of meditation, which was a great practice. The thing with meditation for me was I did learn to quiet my racing thoughts, but my purpose was to erase the mind and not to quiet it so I could hear God. Because I don't know, at least I know, I think as people get older and they start doing more effed up stuff and going their own way, God's always trying to kind of nudge you back He's always whispering, and we're just like pretty much flipping him off. And no matter how much we tell him to go screw himself, he's still there, waiting. Like, come on, dude. I'm still here, waiting. You know, how bad does it need to get? And it's not God doing it to us. You know, what do I say? When I was a kid, you know, I was like, yeah, God gave me freedom of will, and I'm gonna use it to the max, and I did. Ran off my own will and got in all sorts of stuff. Had a great time, super exciting, lots of experience, learned a lot through mistakes. But it didn't need to be that way. Or maybe it did. Maybe that was his plan the whole time. I keep on saying stuff like, you can't learn the lessons of your Savior until you pass the devil's tests. And I believe the devil is cast down here as a teacher. To me, the whole thing is like a big system. God is a system. All right, if you're going to do this, this is what happens. Pretty simple cause and effect. And then people are like, well, I don't need a book to know what's good or not. I don't know. Look around. Look how easy it is for the social engineers to tell you something's good or natural or normal now. And it starts off slow. I don't blame people at all. These powers and principalities are brilliant. Just brilliant. even check out let's just say abortion. Before, it was, you know, people thought it was reasonable. Under 3 months, the thing's barely a couple of cells. Whatever, let's keep our population down. We don't want the kid to suffer if he's going into the wrong family, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what they're pushing for now? And I think it's legal in some states. Like 9-month abortion. Like full-grown baby abortion. Like back in the Greek days when they used to throw them off cliffs when they thought they had a deformity to keep the bloodlines pure. Like, what in the... And they're doing it. Go look it up. Nobody will believe it because it's so crazy. But what's going on right now that isn't? And people don't want to look it up. And people, that's I think that's part of how the stray from God happens. Because when you follow Jesus, it is painful. Absolutely painful, because you have to look in the mirror and deal with it. You have to listen to all those whispers from God that you ignored over the years. And you have to be redeemed. And that requires very uncomfortable emotions. And you have to do it repeatedly. You don't, kind of like the 12-step. I did the 12-step. One of the best regimens out there. Even if you're not an addict, everybody should be doing the 12-step. It just simplifies it. But it's painful. You got to deal with the pain. I think that's a big problem with what the medical field is now deeming mental illnesses and stuff. Is people are getting messed up because of the spectrum. There's an emotional spectrum. We have so many ways to distract and cope and numb pain, psychological and physical. But emotions, joy and pain on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Joy on one side, pain on the other. When you dull one side, like pain, and ignore it, and keep dulling it, you might be shrinking that side, but it also shrinks the other side. So you don't feel pain anymore, but you can't feel joy anymore either. Happens a lot when people first sober up. Is they haven't dealt with the pain yet. They're kind of doing what they're told to do. but they haven't dealt with the pain yet. They haven't felt it, so they can't feel the joy either. So they go to the barbecue, they see everybody laughing, and even if it's a sober one, and kids running around and everybody eating popsicles and stuff, and they're like, I'm supposed to be happy, but I'm not. There's something wrong. It's because they haven't dealt with it yet. And it's not easy. And you can't just go back to work and deal with it. You gotta take your time with recovery and healing. It's not on your time. Yeah, that's enough of that. Now I gotta go to the gym and train. See you later. So I was talking to a buddy of mine. All that talk of paganism and spells and stuff that I was just talking on just reminded me of higher level witchcraft. And buddy of mine, great guy, true follower of Christ, does a lot of good. We were chit-chatting, and he had me going down a rabbit hole, and not many people let me do that, especially the ones who are still really embedded in the matrix, as it were, because I tend to they get that cognitive dissonance, and they get really uncomfortable. But he brought up the Ukraine war, and he's like, what do you think about the Ukraine war? I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, why did it start? He's like, what? So how did it start? And he just shut up. Like, isn't it funny how, like, all these big things can go on and nobody knows anything about them, yet they're talked about all day long? And, like, why did it start? What's the narrative? I mean, you watch the news, you want to talk about it. So what do they say? How did it start? And he couldn't even tell me. You know, he keeps up with it, but he can't tell me. And so here's what I think about that war and any war. And so you can always, the common denominator is, it's good versus evil, and not one side or the other. I forgot what I was talking about before we got onto the subject of war, but I was trying to explain to him, and science is no different, but all this political rigmarole, all this talking back and forth and take a side, it's all a spell to get you on board with just basically a bloodbath. What I think about that war is it's about greed and power and a blood sacrifice. The devil. That's it. Like, it's not too complicated. You don't even know why you're supporting one side or another, because you were told to. Because you need to participate in it. All war should just be illegal. You know what I'm saying? But they have all these spells that they broadly cast on the television, and they just drill people with these ideas. And it gets in their head, and they're like, yeah, that's okay, we'll go over there. We'll go over there and help these guys out. Not knowing we were already prepping for the war before the war officially started by giving them a bunch of weapons. And that's what, like, you can almost boil everything down to it. That's why the old school good and evil thing is so potent. But when you're battling stuff in the worldly realm, I mean, you're just subject to the worldly ways. I don't know, if you want to take up that cause, I suggest the best way to fight is just to pray for peace. And tell all your other people to pray for peace. I don't even see people praying for peace anymore. I don't even think they know what it is anymore. Everybody gets on a side. And that's the polarity. You need all that friction, that negative and positive charge to create energy and get people moving to do what you want them to do. To keep the machine going. And it all depends on which machine you're working for. So, yeah, if you want to pick a side, I wouldn't pick Democrat or Republican or Russia and China versus America and whoever else. Just pick God. All right, I just finally got my back right. This was just the second round of stretches. So I go to my gym, and there's a lot that I forgot to tell you because it's been so long since I've had to do it. That's how good it all works. And still do more research. Look up yoga for psoas release and other things. And bring it up if you're seeing a PT. Talk with them. Research. Get to know thyself. And bring it up and talk with you. Because these people are so textbook. And they have to do what the senior PT tells them, and they probably doing stuff, and the PT hadn't even met you yet. Like, oh yeah, just do this. Anyways, figure it out with them. That's the best way to do it. Just be like, hey, this dude was talking about my psoas is locked. I don't need to strengthen it. I had to release it. Release it, not strengthen it. And that kind of stuff. So I'm going to get into some other things that I didn't mention when I showed you the stretches before. I did that little prelude. So I go to the gym here, and I wanted to hit the hot tub up just to warm up, actually. You know, I've been running around all day. I've been driving a lot. So sitting, remember sitting is one of the things. Sitting shortens it. It likes sitting because it's shortened, because it's locked. But the hot tub was closed till 3. So I had to do my funny walk where you elongate your back stride and kind of clench your glute, your little booty sway walk. It gives it just a gentle little stretch and then a range of motion movement forward. Gentle stretch, it just tugs just a little bit. And my back was good. It wasn't hurting anymore, but I could tell it was still tight. So if I say I started training today and like jogging, it was still tight and my vertebrae was still a little tweaked. So the objective is to get the psoas loose enough, and then as you're moving, your back will snap back into place as it should be naturally. And what a lot of people end up doing is they go to the mechanic. They want the quick and easy, have someone else do it way, and they go to the chiro or something, and the chiro will put it back in its place, and then the minute you leave, it snaps right back out of place because they didn't take care of the problem. Took care of the symptom. So anyways, I did my walk. Excuse me. I did some stretches, those same stretches again, and a couple more, just getting it all stretched out. In my old age, I don't need to do much strength training anymore, but I do a lot of stretching. You got to keep all the pathways opened up, man. Stretching. I'll do like 40 minutes of stretching. I felt it, my psoas released during my stretches now. And so I'm like, good, I feel it getting looser. Now it's time to get the bone back. So then I just started doing a lot of the twisting stretches where you sit in a chair and you just twist, you hold the back. And then I did a little back rolling, and I let that roller just sit on the top of my pelvis in the back there, and I just rocked a little bit on the iliac crest. That's the top of your pelvis. It gets a little tender back there on some people, and then a little bit on the tops of my glutes, just getting that whole sacral area a little kneading, a little massage. And then I kicked that roller out, lifted up my knees, and started going back and forth. And then the wife called, so I was still doing it, and then all of a sudden I just feel a pop. It went back into place. It slipped back in. Now I'm fine. I'll be good. Now I can start training because I won't retweak it worse. What's a couple other things with that? So now I'm going to go, I think I got time before I pick up the kids. I'm going to go take I live by this one and I tell everybody to do it. I don't know if anybody does, but a Epsom salt baking soda bath. So you know how everybody likes those bath bombs and stuff like that? Kind of. It's not as smelly. You can't really use essential oils in there because the baking soda will suck up all the smell. or just clog up the effect of the baking soda. But what it does is, so what you do is you put a whole box, one of them little 1 pound boxes of baking soda in your bathtub, and you put 2 cups at least of Epsom salt. The main thing with the Epsom salt is the magnesium. We're all deficient in magnesium, and your muscles absolutely love it. It just soaks in transdermally through your skin. What the baking soda does is absorbs transdermally. It has a lot of health benefits besides this, but what it does is, for a little bit, it will balance your pH level. And for those of you who don't know what pH balance is, it's basically, they say it's the measure of acidity in your body, alkaline versus base versus acids, all that stuff. But it balances that out pretty quick. What it really measures is the electroconductivity of your tissues, how well electricity flows through your tissues. We're energetic beings. Our heart generates electricity when it pumps. The heart is just like one of those, we used to have these toys and they had the little generators in them. I remember I took it apart. But any little generator, it has the magnets, and when it spins, the magnets create a charge. And it's the same with your heart, and it creates, it's like 2 magnets. Anyways, you want good electrical flow that helps healing. Pretty simple. So when you get out of that tub, you feel like you probably should feel all the time, and it feels really good. It's just a little helper, because it'll go back to, you'll probably go drink a pop or something and get it back to acidic again or whatever. But it's just a little help. It relaxes, and if you can relax and meditate during the bath, even better. Any type of healing requires the absence of your fight or flight chemistry. So if you can get relaxed to the point where you feel the warm and fuzzies and like kind of stoned, but you're not stoned, that's where you want to be. That's the what is that? Parasympathetic nervous response. That's the healing state. Good sleep too. Oh my God, I got stories about sleep. My first kid, Kaya, the 5-year-old girl, from very early on, 6 months, I think, slept awesome. 12 hours straight, 7 to 7, every day. No real issues, except for when she was really little, she had, gas. And, we'd have to take care of that. But that was few and far between. And that was kind of, that wasn't really my fault, but I thought it was for a little bit, because she was on formula, and the formula's got a lot of minerals in it, and you're supposed to mix it with distilled water. Nowadays they sell distilled water with minerals added. I don't know why, because they got minerals in the formula. And so I was giving her our spring water, which has a lot of minerals in it. And what I read somewhere, and I'm not even sure if it's totally true or not, but if you have too many minerals, it can mess with your gut, especially for a little infant or a little kid. But she also had gas and kind of colic-esque issues on and off that water. So it probably wasn't that. But my little boy, I remember when my wife came to me one day and wanted a second kid, right? She's like, I want a second kid. And I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, because I usually carry most of the weight, right? And and I was a dick. I was like, you can barely handle this one. Like, it's straight up. Like, you know how much work that is for me? Like, am I going to be a stay-at-home dad? That's cool with me if that's, like, the decision. But don't ask me to go bring home the bacon and take care of 2 kids. But, anyways. And I'm like, and Kaya sleeps awesome. And that the second kid is not going to sleep as good as Kaya. And even with, her knowing I'm recovered and stuff, the importance of sleep, I cannot emphasize enough, and sleeping is when you heal, and it just does all these things that you need, and half of the people's ailments could probably be solved just by proper sleep. I was huge on sleep. And then I had a real big test. 3 years of horrible sleep. Just not that many months ago, Isaiah started sleeping halfway decently. He still pops awake at like whatever, between 10:30 and midnight, but then he goes right back to sleep. But this kid did not want to sleep. It was only for a short amount of times. It was torture. And he would do this thing too where he would wake up at 3 in the morning, like ready to party, like just ready for the day. And I'm like, dude. And then there would be 2 hours of that, of you trying to get him back to sleep. And then he'd go back to sleep at like 5:30, right before the day is starting. And I'd generally be a cup of coffee into it already. And I'm like, I guess I'll just stay up and write or something, you know? And then I'd just be a wreck. And then, like, there was this thing, too, when you're home, the passive-aggressiveness of Jaja. She would wait, because she worked nights. And she would wait. You could do it at all different times of the day, but she would wait until the kid would go to sleep, until it was nap time. And you're supposed to catch up on your own sleep. And then, and that's when she decided to start stomping on the floor above your head, like right above your head, and slamming cabinets and all sorts of shit. And you're like, I'm gonna chop someone in the throat soon. It's been months of no sleep. Got through it. Still alive, a little more crazy, but oh my gosh, but he's good now. Anyways, I'll end with that. I'll see you guys later.